Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel here on YouTube, where I've got the TNT takes for you on Survivor 44 Episode 5, that's right. But before we get into it, if you haven't checked it out already, I had the man, the myth, the legend, Peridium here on the channel, and we did our recap and review of Episode 5. So if you want more in-depth analysis and just general Survivor thoughts in general, go check out the long-form podcast on the channel as well. But let's get into the top 5 takes here for this episode. Takeaway number 1, we had a non-elimination episode, and for once, I wasn't really angry at it because I hate non-elimination episodes. Obviously, Matthew gets medevaced, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, but so many great character moments, so many great storylines have developed over this episode that I'm kind of excited to see No One Go Home to see how it's going to play out. We get very early on in this episode, Carolyn and Yam Yam not completely on the same page, and Josh sitting in the middle with his fake idol, trying to fake them out so he can stay in the game. The guy is desperate to stay in the game. And we also know that Josh is unaware that he was out of the Soka Alliance and that he potentially would have been the next person to go home if he didn't get swapped into the Tika tribe. So him still being in the game by the end of this episode, in my opinion, makes for potential great TV when we get to the merge or the Earn the Merge episode. Also in this episode, we see that Carson is bonding with Kane, his fellow nerd. We had a bromance and we've got a nerdmance out there on the island. And I can't wait to see where this goes because I'm a big fan of Kane and I'm glad that he's finally finding some of his people there who he can play the game with. Outside of that, we also have the bromance with Danny and Brandon that is going to be a thing. So I personally believe we're going to have the cool kids versus the other kids go at it when we get to the merge, which will potentially leave Matt and Franny in the middle because I don't know how solid they are with that bromance, and they could potentially find a home with some of the nerdy kids. Alright, moving on to takeaway number 2, we kind of hinted about it, but the bromance between Danny and Brandon is a thing. And I was living for Carolyn's facial expressions, the way she called them out every time they ignored her at the Survivor Sanctuary. It was absolutely beautiful. And I feel like whenever Jeff says that we can't have Survivor without 20 advantages, we have to have all these advantages in the game, someone needs to show him this clip. Someone needs to say, this is what the fans love about Survivor. We love the human interaction, the social interaction, the fact that no matter how many times you cast people and you put them out there, some people may be fans of the show, they may have seen all of the seasons, but they still will get the social cues wrong. Brandon and Danny talking to each other about what they're going to do at the merge and ignoring Carolyn basically is some of the worst gameplay I've seen in a very long time. And I feel like they underestimated her because she is an over-the-top personality and is not someone that they really want to work with in the game. And I feel like there may have even been a part of them thinking that she may not make the merge. That's why they said, good luck on making the merge. And they even let slip that they want to work with Josh as well. So Carolyn now knows this information and she's got a plan in her head to go back to camp to vote Josh out to make that bromance alliance a little bit weaker. So some people may say that this non-elimination twist has potentially hurt Carolyn in the game. Takeaway number 3, Matthew was taken too soon. I was a big fan of Matthew this season. He was someone who played like he was getting his one and only shot at playing this game. Yes, he climbed that rock. Yes, some fans said that he was being reckless. But guess what? I guess I could be that guy as well if I was able to go out there. I would want to explore. I would want to climb trees. Cody did it last season. He jumped from a rock into the water. Nobody said that he shouldn't have done it. It was a great TV moment. So yes, it was an unfortunate accident. But the way that he dealt with it, trying to stay in the game, still putting himself out there, taking his arm out of the sling, and then being the clutch player for his team a few times at the Immunity Challenges showed the kind of heart that he had for this game. And it was heartbreaking to see him talk to fellow fans, Kane and Carson, about his love for the game and how badly he wanted to play it and how much pain he was in. I really feel for Matthew. I don't look at Matthew going out in this game, being pulled from this game as a quit personally. I think it's a medevac. Different people recover differently. He, like he said, didn't have food or nutrition to help him recover with his body. And I also don't blame the production team too much for keeping him in the game as much as they did here this season, because we've seen players come into the game before and injure themselves, like Stephanie in Heroes and Villains, and also Tyson, who actually ended up doing extremely well in his season, and they were all okay. So sadly for Matthew, his injury is going to last, and I hope that we see Matthew back on a future returnee season. Who knows, maybe even with Bruce, because there are the two medevacs here for this season. Takeaway number 4, we had a lot of Josh screen time this specific episode, and a lot of fans have said that Josh has been pretty quiet in the early days, but in the last couple of episodes, they've ramped up his edit a little bit more. You know, we do know that he's someone that a lot of people don't trust, and he does create this fake idol with beads from Treemail. Sadly, he gets caught out because he uses the same note that he used to show Carolyn his first advantage, and also Yam Yam seems to be onto him very quickly in the game as well, which doesn't give him much room to move. So it looked like with the backstory, his medical background, him opening up to Yam Yam about being a gay person and the struggles of that growing up, and seeing that beautiful moment between them, I kind of thought, it's it. That's it. We're seeing everything. They're setting him up to be going home, and for us to feel really bad about him going home at the end of the episode. But he survives, and I, for one, is extremely excited about it because I think Josh still has a lot to offer to this game, and I wouldn't even completely count him out because by the end of this episode, when Carolyn comes back to say Josh is a part of the bromance, he does not really want to be a part of the bromance. He said, "I don't want to be lumped in with those guys," but I don't know if he's going to have a home with Yam Yam and Carolyn. I hope he does. I hope he does fit in with the counter alliance to Danny's alliance, but I'm really scared to see what's going to go. But clearly one thing I can tell by the end of this episode, we've got 2 factions in the game. You've got Danny's faction, and then you've got the Carson, Carolyn, Yam Yam, Matt, and Franny faction, I think. I can see the alliance splitting in such a way where Matt and Franny finds their home with the nerdy kids rather than being with the cool kid club. Because remember, Danny outed Matt early on about his idol, and that's something that I do think won't sit really well with Matt in the game. Like he'll remember that. If somebody outed you like that, you know they don't clearly want to work with you. They're kind of using you as a tool or a pawn in the game. Alright, takeaway number 5. So let's do some bold winner predictions here going into the earn the merge part of the game. I think Danny has a potential to win the game. If that alliance does end up taking out all of the nerdy kids on the other side, I think Danny is the only one being shown playing the game at a very high level, planting a fake idol, leading someone to a fake idol, thinking about the numbers and getting an alliance together. But you have to wonder if we would have seen the bromance alliance talk and Carolyn's reaction to how bad that was if Danny was the person who was going to win. Now, I know Jeff has said we don't get a winner's edit, so maybe they're just telling the story and Brandon and Danny can still recover from this. But it did not look good on them, at least. My prediction, though, for the 3 people that are going to win this season may shock a few people at this stage, but I feel like there are 3 players in the game that have gone through some of the most adversity in the game. They're from the same tribe in the game, and that's Carson, Yam Yam, and Carolyn. And if you told me in the beginning of the season, Chris, you're going to be a Carolyn stan, I would have said, hell no. Episode 1, I wasn't all in. But from there onwards, Carolyn has been everything. She is all over the place, energy. She gives us a lot of excitement, but she's got really good instincts for the game. Strategically, she's sound. Even in this episode when she goes back and Yam Yam pushes her to say, come on, just tell me what you got at the island. She does not tell him about the idol that she has. So still up until this point, no one knows about the idol. And I would have never thought she'd be the one to keep that secret. I've been told she's really good at playing online org games, and it clearly shows that she understands strategically how to move, what numbers mean in the game, and when she needs to pivot. She was considering moving with Josh prior to the bromance talk because she knew she didn't have the numbers going into the merge. But now that she's going back to Yam Yam, we're seeing Carson build these bridges over on the other side with the other tribe, and specifically with Kane. I can very easily see Kane coming in with them, Carson, Yam Yam, and Carolyn being a bit of an alliance. And like I said, Matt and Franny, they're going to be the secret source. And I don't know if Josh wants to work with the bromance. So if that side somehow wins, and I'm going all in, saying that Danny is my outside pick here for a winner pick, and he still has a chance on that side. I just don't feel high on a lot of other people on that side. I don't feel like we've gotten to know them enough. And I know that in the new age of Survivor, that doesn't mean a hell of a lot because we've seen players win where we almost feel like we don't know them that much. But my predictions are those 3 players, watch out for them. Carson, I'm fearful of. He's building a really good connection with so many different people, socially connecting with him, but I am fearful that if he does cut a lot of people, because of how good he is at the social game and building those deep connections, they may feel hurt by him and not get him the vote at the end, kind of like what happened with Mike Turner. And then I'm all between Yam Yam and Carolyn, I'm not too sure which way it will go. Carolyn is clearly the bigger character. Who would have thought that coming in, that Yam Yam would not be the biggest character on the season? So I do think that if she gets there, she's playing a superior game to everybody else at the moment in the game. And she should be the number one favorite. It's just, can someone with that big of a... Well, she doesn't even have a target on her back because people underestimate her. But can someone with this big of an edit in the new era of Survivor win? Because it always feels like they're the Omar or the Jesse of the season. And I hope Carolyn does not fall into that same spot. Anyways, that's my top 5 takeaways here for this episode. If you do like this content, if you want to see more of it in the future, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button, pushing the notification bell so you can be informed next time I drop one of these videos and also when I go live. Thank you so much. Grab your torches, head back to camp. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.